Today is Sunday, February 12th, 2023, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint on Super Bowl Sunday. I point that out because whether you're pulling for the Chiefs or the Eagles or the commercials or Rihanna, this has become a singular American event because it is pretty much the closest thing we have to a shared viewing experience. We're generally quite splintered. Now, by no means will everyone be watching even tonight, but it does stand alone as a near communal event. The estimate is that around 100 million people will be tuning in. That's quite a bit more than the 27 million who tuned in to watch the State of the Union address this past Tuesday night. And compare that to 30 years ago, when 70 million people watched the State of the Union address delivered that year by President Clinton. So even that isn't the shared viewing that it once was. But this morning, we're going to focus on the state of the region. A new report was delivered this week by the Detroit Regional Chamber. It included some very interesting findings, perhaps chief among them that Michigan led the nation among large states in bouncing back from the pandemic. Think about that for a moment. That's a real achievement for a state that for so long had the reputation of moving and turning like an aircraft carrier. But the findings also show us the challenges that remain, and among the biggest of those, finding the people who will power the Michigan of the future. It's not easy when a third of your college graduates take their diploma and then head for the door. We're going to talk about that coming up. At the same time that report was being presented downtown, a big announcement was being made a few miles north. Henry Ford Health, Michigan State University, and the Detroit Pistons all coming together to create a massive new healthcare complex, one that hopes to make Detroit a medical destination, even more than it already is. It's much more than a big new hospital, though. We'll talk about that, too, today on Flashpoint. All right, when we all first heard about the plans for District Detroit, what brought so many people on board was the fact that it wasn't just a new stadium, it was a neighborhood. It was residential, it was retail, it was workspace. Well, now we're still waiting for that to come to fruition, of course. But similar excitement was generated this past Wednesday when Henry Ford Health, Michigan State University, and the Detroit Pistons unveiled plans for a massive complex in the New Center area. It is a new hospital, yes, but it is much more than that. Let's talk about it with the president and CEO of Henry Ford Health, Bob Riney, and the vice chairman of the Detroit Pistons, Arn Tellem, though today looks like he works for the Philadelphia Eagles, proudly wearing his Philadelphia allegiance for the game later today. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Bob, let me start with you. That was my attempt at framing what it is you want to do. Give me your elevator pitch on what this complex will be and can be.
Well, first and foremost, this is a great story about the power of partnerships. And for the Henry Ford Health component, we're building a brand new state-of-the-art, all-private room bed tower with new contemporary emergency room, ORs, procedural rooms that will meet our immediate community that we have the privilege to serve, as well as a destination for people that seek complex care from literally all over the world. The exciting part is that we're partnering with Michigan State University, in addition to that, to build a new research facility that will bring the science community from all around the globe to Detroit. And then our most important partnership is with Tom Gores and the Detroit Pistons and Arn Tellem about creating livable, workable space for all of our team members and for community at large to be part of this massive development.
And that takes me right in. I guess some would say, Arn, what's a nice guy like you doing in a place like this? How did the Pistons, an NBA team, come to be partners in this plan?
Really, it starts with our owner, Tom Gores, and his view of the Pistons as a community asset and really wanting to make an impact in Detroit. And really, our most important partnership, as Bob mentioned, is with Henry Ford Health, which is, to me, the premier hospital in the city and in this area. And they were instrumental in helping us move to Detroit. We created a great partnership then where we built our headquarters practice facility. They built their sports medicine institute. And this is the natural progression of that partnership, where they're building this new state-of-the-art healthcare facilities and hospital and the research center in partnership with Michigan State. And we're taking on the responsibility of building out residential, retail, green space to really make this a wonderful community, one campus that's connected not only among our partnerships, but to the entire population of Detroit and serving the citizens of Detroit. And hopefully, we believe that Henry Ford Health is not only for Detroiters, but it's going to be a regional, national, and international destination for top medical care. And for us, it's an honor to be part of this partnership and help them achieve those goals.
Bob, when we talk about destination healthcare, I'm thinking, people are familiar with Rochester, Minnesota, the home of the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland and the Cleveland Clinic, MD Anderson in Houston. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
It is. And, the Detroit community probably doesn't fully appreciate how much destination care we have now. People come after doing research from all over the country for some of our clinical programs. But now we're going to have a space to practice that clinical excellence that will be extremely inviting for not only the patient but for their family as well. And we will be in that same league in the eye of people across the globe. And it's a quintessential Detroit story about innovation, perseverance, and partnerships.
Yeah. Arn, you said something at the announcement on Wednesday that really struck me. You said this was something that Tom Gores has been wanting to do since the start, since purchasing the Pistons. This isn't really about basketball. I think that's a really interesting insight into Tom Gore's thinking.
No, he clearly, when he bought the team, obviously we want to win games and hopefully win championships, but really equally important for Tom was that the team serve the community and have a great impact and be a positive force. And this, to me, starting with our partnership with Henry Ford Health, is helping us achieve that. And really, it is about making an impact, improving the lives of others. And it is, like Bob said, Tom believes, like Bob, we all believe in the power of partnership. And by working together, we can achieve more and have a greater impact. And that's between us, Henry Ford Health, and Michigan State. It's a powerful combination. And we're all adding to this wonderful project. And it's only going to catalyze further development in this area and really have an exponential impact beyond just what we're doing.
Bob, it might not be helpful for me to mention District Detroit when you're trying to launch something like this, because that has created a fair amount of skepticism over promises made and then the way things do or don't work out, or requests then later for tax abatements and brownfield credits and on and on. So give me a little bit of an idea here of what kind of help you and your triumvirate here is going to need to make this happen, or do you think it's already set in stone to happen?
No, I think that I'll be very clear on this. Most of the development is going to come from our own earnings and reinvesting that back in the community. Another portion is going to come from our donor community. And our donor community knows the storied history of Henry Ford Hospital and the city of Detroit. And as Mayor Duggan said the other day, when many left, Henry Ford never wavered. And our donors are very moved by that, and they're going to be here to support us. And then certainly on the other non-mission related projects, the infrastructure, the green space, all of those things are going to benefit all Detroiters. We will certainly look for any resources that we can, whether that's incentives, whether that's foundations, et cetera. But we are solid in this plan. We've got partners. We took a long time getting to this point. We crossed the T's and dotted the I's. And so, we're ready to go. And while we talked about destination care, I also want to just mention this is for Detroiters. They deserve a state-of-the-art emergency room. They deserve private rooms for their care. And we're so happy to be building this.
Absolutely right. Arn, let me let you weigh in on this matter, though, because there is fatigue among citizens who get a little tired of billionaires who need abatements and incentives and, packages that they seem to be the last ones who actually need. You want to weigh in on that?
I would just say that projects of this scope and magnitude, it's customary to have some level of public financing and support.
Right.
We don't have any great details of this work, but we're going to have to explore all of our options together to help make this, project successful. And it's all to achieve, to me, a tremendous social impact that's going to improve the quality of healthcare that Detroiters in this region receive, and to make a walkable, connected community to the neighborhoods ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's really, this area of New Center is the gateway to the city, and it's connected to the neighborhoods. And this hospital and all of us, the Pistons, Michigan State, are all geared to serving the broader neighborhoods and the community of Detroit. So this is going to have a tremendous public benefit.
So right. Bob, I've only got about a minute left, but I wanted to make sure we get to something that it really struck me that you said that was interesting the other day. A number of the old office buildings there are going to be converted into residential space. And you noted that over the years, you've looked around at that old architecture and thought, this would be a really cool place to live.
It's absolutely true. I mean, I think it's part of the creativity that we're all going through as work-life changes. And we have buildings, and I would use the one that we currently have for our corporate office as really perfect for loft and for city living. And there's a great and a continued growing market for living in the city. And by the way, a new research building brings scientists, and they want to live and work in urban communities. Same with the Detroit Pistons and what they bring to their workforce.
Sure makes sense. Yeah. Bob and Arn, thanks so much for this. It's going to be really exciting to watch it take shape. Thanks. And Arn, I'll let you you want to get in a Go Eagles there?
Fly, Eagles, fly, everyone.
But the Kansas kid here is pulling for the Chiefs. Thanks, guys. We'll take a quick break and back with more in just a minute.
Get the lowest price on iComfort at the Gardner White President's Day mattress sale. Sleep better tonight with an extra $1,000 off iComfort Hybrid. In stock with free same-day delivery. Get an exclusive Gardner White bonus 10% off. Plus, we pay your tax. And get 0% financing up to 60 months, as low as $1 a day. Plus, free TVs and MasterCards and a bonus $100 MasterCard. Exclusively at Gardner White, Michigan's #1 Serta dealer.
For adventure, for climbing, for splashing, for towing, for premium, for capable. The GMC AT4 lineup, premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC. Or GM employee program participants with a current eligible GMC lease can get this low mileage lease on the Sierra Elevation for $339 per month.
The father is...
Background stealing the scene.
The father is you, John.
With next-gen TV and Dolby, dialogue is crystal clear.
That's right, there are 2 N's.
We're not gonna make it!
Volume catching you by surprise.
That's right, there are 2 N's.
We're not gonna make it!
With next-gen TV and Dolby, there are no more sound surprises. Make the sound decision and choose next-gen TV.
If you're not watching Local 4 News, this is what you're missing.
If you're a parent, one time or another, you're going to worry or wonder about your kid being exposed to drugs. Even this chapstick is actually a secret container.
Plus,
big battle between the customer and the energy giant. I'm pleased.
And next week, Local 4 investigator Karen Drew exposes hidden cameras.
We're going to take a look at where people hide these cameras and how they're disguised.
Worth your time to watch every day. Local 4 News. Expect more.
All right, welcome back. Let's take stock now of the state of the region. Wednesday, the Detroit Regional Chamber presented its annual State of the Region report. Let's talk about that with the CEO of the Chamber, Sandy Barua, back with us again on Flashpoint. Nika Goss, the CEO of Detroit Future City, is here, and Jeff Donofrio, the CEO for Business Leaders for Michigan. Gang, thank you very much. This is we would need 6 hours probably to go through everything that you delivered this past week.
And we only have 3.
And we only have 3. That's exactly right. We'll lead right up to the Super Bowl. But I want to start with the thing I pointed out at the top of the program. And you said it in your preface to the report. For years, the saying was, when the rest of the world, the rest of the country gets a cold, Michigan gets the flu. And yet here we find ourselves the leader in bouncing back from the pandemic. How's that?
It is one, we need to think about how we as Michiganders talk about ourselves. And we are so used to not talking about ourselves in a positive way that we're not even sure how to process this information. Bloomberg magazine rated Michigan as the #1 state of all the large states in the country in terms of economic resiliency coming out of the pandemic. Now, that doesn't mean everything's perfect.
No.
But, we have outperformed not only our expectations, but we outperformed most of our national peers, and we continue to do so. We're actually doing quite well.
Then let's get to what's not so well, and that's what I guess are the challenges that you lay out. And the biggest of those still seems to be when a third of the people who graduate from college in your state leave as soon as they've got their diploma. That's not good.
Yeah, population growth, clearly, we keep losing members of Congress because we keep losing population. Jeff's going to talk about this a little bit more later on, but we're not retaining as many college graduates as we need. Our equity balance is not right. I mean, when you look at what the average income is for a majority of folks, compare that to Black Americans, Latinx Americans, there's a $20,000 gap. That's just not acceptable. The same thing for educational attainment. They're not getting the degrees at the same level. There's lots of issues. There. And of course, we have a labor force participation problem. I mean, just overall, we are, in the Detroit region in particular, we're last in our peer group.
Yeah, that's a tough one to overcome. That's not going to happen overnight. Anika, let's talk though about the equity problems here. We've, in my now 20 whatever it is years in Detroit, every conversation goes back to education. And you just can't do much until you end up with an educated populace.
And not only that, do we continue to perpetuate a lack of education, but the jobs are also inequitably available for people who don't have a four-year degree. And Detroit is the state's largest city, and whether or not in the last census we went up or down, it still remains the state's largest city. And for us to still only be at 14% of bachelor's degrees, we really have to begin to think about middle wage jobs that don't require a degree. Yeah. And in particular for Detroiters, because what we're finding is that across the region, white workers without a degree are being hired at a faster rate than Detroit workers.
It's great that we've gotten to where we don't talk just about degrees. We talk about certification, we talk about trades and all that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all that's easier for African Americans or any minorities to attain.
Right, and we've made considerable strides in Michigan in certifications. Those numbers are all up and they continue to grow year over year. But at the end of the day, if you in fact get that certification, you still need to be hired. Yeah. And if you're not hired, especially for the jobs in the newer economies that we're seeing, that Jeff talks about in advanced manufacturing and AI and EV and all of these other new economies, if we're only still hiring across the region the same white workers that have a little bit of education or limited education in comparison to the rest of the population, we're not actually employing our talent pool. We're not living up to our potential.
Yeah. Well, you've both mentioned what Jeff is going to talk about. Maybe I should ask him that. Jeff, this is we are moving into an era where it is kind of difficult, because 5 years ago we couldn't have told people that this is what today was going to look like.
Absolutely.
So now we're trying to make plans for 5 years hence, which is even more complicated, right?
Yeah.
What we need.
Absolutely. And I think as Anika and Sandy both said, the workforce and the economy is evolving in ways that we aren't expecting, and certainly we can't use history as a guide necessarily here in Michigan.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's important is that talent demand is still really high amongst employers. 80% of our CEOs say that they're going to have a hard time filling jobs in the next 6 to 12 months. That's leading them to do things like reevaluate whether a credential is needed, try to provide childcare, do things that remove barriers to work for individuals that may be non-traditional, that may be in their workforce already, and try to move them along a career pathway. So I think that's a really positive thing. On the talent migration front, though, Michigan still, we are gaining workers on an annual basis, even though we're losing population. But there's two stories there. We're losing.
How does that work? That may strike some as impossible.
Well, certainly we're not counting older people who are out of the workforce, right? And we're not counting younger people who don't have a job or aren't employed at any one period of time. But for individuals who are moving to different states or moving to different regions because of a job, we're gaining population overall. Where we're losing, though, is to other states. So more Michiganders move to other states than move back here. Where we're winning is on immigration, where we actually are one of the top 20 states for immigrants coming into Michigan.
Yeah. Where this now, though, gets tricky is trying to coalesce what we need with what the modern worker wants. And this was part of the conversation that we did at a session for the Chamber this past Wednesday, trying to figure, we've had this mass resignation. We've had people willing to walk away from good jobs because they are seeking something else. They're seeking joy. And so when Jeff talks about what we need in the future, Sandy, the folks who are not becoming engineers, it's not because they don't realize, oh, that might be a lucrative career. It's not what they want. How do we put a big bow, get all of this, the needs of modern young people and the desires of modern young people, and marry them somehow with the demands of the business world and put them all in the same box?
So I think of what Peter Quigley, who's the CEO of Kelly Services, told me and will tell anyone who will listen, that the war for talent is over. Talent won. And when you look at what the dynamics are today, that is exceptionally true. In other words, for businesses to retain, attract talent, you have to create the environment in which they want to be. And the talent, especially young, educated talent, are setting the pace for what those requirements are. And old guys like me who think that, well, this is the way an office should look like, if we don't adapt, we will not have the talented people to work with. The other thing I want to say, to build on what Jeff said about kind of the workplace, Jeff is exactly right. Business leaders cannot find the people to fill the jobs that they have open. And that's not just today, that's looking into the next 12 months. What's also happening, in addition to, listen, I don't require a bachelor's degree anymore. I don't think I need that, but it's also accelerating automation. We're seeing a lot of investment. A vast majority of business leaders saying we are investing in technology because we know we're going to have this talent crisis going into the future.
Yeah. Let me let you both weigh in on this this idea, though, of the modern worker and what they want and whether they want to be back in person, all this this is really tricky to navigate.
It is really tricky to navigate, and I feel like we need to be flexible, right? Like we have to really consider what workers today really want.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some employers are demanding a return to in-place. And we'll see how that works.
Yeah, exactly, and it doesn't. Some younger, I think I find that younger workers actually do want some time in the office and want some interface, but they want the flexibility to be able to work when they want. And I think in an analysis of, do you actually need to be in the office, or do you really just want to pay rent because you built out all of the space? I think that's really the question that I think a lot of CEOs are grappling with, and I think we need to think about, do we really want to be a region that is attractive to all kinds of talent?
Jeff, with Business Leaders of Michigan, this is the conversation that is vexing all of your membership, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the key word here is flexibility, though, and as I think the future of work evolves, as we see productivity shift and change, because certainly productivity was different during the pandemic when we were all at home. It's different now when there's hybrid models, and it probably will be different in the future. I think Anika said something that it's really important, though. Younger workers do want to be in the office. I mean, it's that, being in the office, learning from your colleagues, being able to understand a culture, and having exposure to upper management in many cases, and even just exposure to other industries. That's missing from a work-at-home only environment, and it's something that really we're going to have to address.
Yeah, Sandy. Before we go, I wanted to make sure I let you weigh in on an interesting. This is all going to require some political will to deal with a lot of the things that are in this report. We watched a really rambunctious week in Lansing as it fought over the budget. What are your concerns about political loggerheads keeping us from doing what we need to do?
Well, I can be more optimistic about our political environment.
And that wraps it up for me.
No, listen, this is going to take money. We talk about education, investment in infrastructure. These things aren't going to be cheap because we have spent generations, not just one generation, but plural generations, underinvesting in things like education and infrastructure.
Yeah, I got to get to a break. Thanks for this great conversation, and one that will continue for the foreseeable future. Back with more on Flashpoint right after this.
Hi, I'm Rachel Stewart, president of Gardner White, and I'd like to tell you about the genius of and. Most companies offer you only one discount, and you end up paying full price for everything else. But at Gardner White, you enjoy huge store-wide savings and an extra 20% off. And we pay your tax. And 0% financing. And a huge in-stock selection with free same-day delivery. The genius of and, only at Gardner White.
For adventure. For climbing. For splashing. For towing. For premium. For capable. The GMC AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC. Or GM Employee Program participants with a current eligible GMC lease can get this low mileage lease on the Sierra Elevation for $339 per month.
Change. It's never around when you want it. And you really want it with the new Hot 7s Instant Games, with top prizes up to $2 million and over $192 million in total prizes. Instant Games. A little play can make your day.
In order to deal with the problems of today, we must be more innovative.
There's obviously better solutions out there that we need to start exploring.
Rents are going up and up and up and up.
Great Florida Reef is under attack.
When great value is out, it's a problem.
Solutionaries, the creative thinkers and doers working to make the world a better place. Subscribe at youtube.com/solutionaries.
We're all out of time, but you know what's good about being the host and getting the last word? You can say things like, go Chiefs. Thanks so much for being here. Meet the Press is next. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Flashpoint.